Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am disappointed to learn of this, but Donald J. Trump is going to be the Republican Party nominee for U.S. President. It's unfortunate that the other contenders did not put up as much of a resistance to Trump's takeover of the Republican Party as reasonable people may have hoped. I did think that Ted Cruz would have had a chance to essentially enable a contested convention where he or some other candidate would have won the nomination on the second ballot. However, both he and John Kasich have dropped out now, so that will no longer be a possibility. What will be a possibility, however, is something that has always been available as a recourse to people of reason and conscience, which is to vote according to principle, not according to the letter next to a candidate's name. Now, I myself have voted Libertarian in both the 2008 and 2012 presidential elections. I did support Ron Paul prior to him losing the Republican nominations in both of those elections. But I supported Ron Paul not because he had an R next to his name, but because he had a principled worldview that he was willing to implement via a political platform. Donald Trump does not have a principled worldview. He is an opportunist who contradicts himself in often the very same sentence he utters, and he seems to attract elements who have been traditionally allied within the Republican Party, but who are not by far the most principled elements. And whether I agree with them or disagree with them, some of the more thoughtful, intellectual, and principled elements of the Republican Party, for instance, the conservatives at the National Review, or individuals like Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush, have renounced Donald Trump and are horrified at the prospect that he would win the presidency. But I think it's very important for people to distance themselves from this view that there is just a binary alternative. You either vote Republican or you vote Democrat, because nothing coerces you, nothing constrains you away from voting for any candidate you wish to support, anyone who is running at all. Gary Johnson, who is most likely to win the Libertarian nomination, is actually far closer to most Republicans' ideals of what a good president would be than Donald Trump. He was a successful two-term Republican governor of New Mexico who was able to essentially run a fiscally sane and rights-respecting administration. So why not support him instead of Donald Trump? Why not, if one isn't comfortable with Gary Johnson, figure out what kinds of nominees the conservatives who are opposed to Donald Trump might put forth. Say, if Mitt Romney chooses to run again, he wouldn't be my preference, he wouldn't be my first choice, but he is far, far more reasonable than Donald Trump would be. And I do admire his courage in standing up to Donald Trump earlier in the election season. The worst thing somebody could do is cave into this narrative of inevitability. Oh, now that Donald Trump has secured the nomination, and oh, Hillary is so horrible, well, one has no choice but to vote for Donald Trump. I completely disagree with that sentiment. I completely disagree with that argument. If at the very beginning of the Republican primary season, you were the type of voter who would have preferred any other candidate to Donald Trump, or at least had extreme skepticism about Donald Trump, please maintain that right now. Don't cave in just because he secured the nomination. The primary process is not binding on your conscience and is not binding on your vote. So whatever you believe in, if you have a coherent, principled view of what you would like American politics to be, don't support Trump. Don't perceive Hillary as such a terrible boogeyman that you would do anything, absolutely anything, to stop her from being elected, because that's not what matters. What matters is you being a person of principle, and you supporting the candidate who is closest to your viewpoint, no matter what your subjective evaluation of that candidate's chances of winning are. Because if everybody thought that way, if everybody voted on principle, then we wouldn't be in this pernicious two-party trap with two very suboptimal and potentially extremely damaging candidates. Thank you very much.